Very good evening to all on Rehabilitation Science Group YouTube channel. Today we are presenting a very interesting topic on role of elastic resistance in rehabilitation. To present this topic, we have with us an experienced and a certified instructor from Thera-Band Academy, US, Dr. Deepak Malhotra, who is an MPT in sports medicine, fellowship biomechanics from IIT Delhi. He is also certified in advanced dry needling and uh, and is also an international Pilates instructor from Australia. Currently, Dr. Deepak is an assistant professor in Department of Rehabilitation Science at Jamia Hamdard, dean to the university at New Delhi. Dr. Deepak, we welcome you to Rehabilitation Science Group, and we would like your consent for producing your lecture live on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me for this lecture. I am thankful to the Rehabilitation Science Group, Dr. Dharam, Dr. Shagun, Dr. Harpreet, and Dr. Prateek. So, all of you, it has been a commendable job, I must say, and I'm really thankful to you all for this thing.
Thank you for being with us today, Dr. Deepak. You may start.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone, and good evening to all of you. Today, I will be talking about role of elastic resistance in rehabilitation, and we'll go forward. I am, as already been mentioned by Harpreet sir, that I am a certified Thera-Band Academy trainer, and Thera-Band Academy is based in USA. So whatever material I'll be using in this PPT and the videos, that is a property of Thera-Band Academy, and I'm authorized to use all those things. Thank you. Now, elastic resistance. When you talk about elastic resistance, you must be having a fair enough idea about elastic resistance. We have bands, we have tubes, we have loops, we have balls, gym balls, etc. So there are various types of resistance equipments which we use in our clinical practice, daily clinical practice, which are made up of rubber, and they are based on the principle of elastic resistance. Now, some of you who have used elastic resistance in clinics or for patient care, they know the importance of elastic resistance, and some of you who have not used it, I think you will start using it after you will see this presentation, because there are so many advantages for elastic resistance in clinical practice, specifically for physios, that I cannot even enumerate all those here. Okay, so just see this. Whatever I would be talking about, it is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the clinical practice is concerned, because there is so much to tell as far as application of these modalities is concerned, that I cannot tell all those things in just 40-50 minutes. So I will try to do justice to whatever time I have, and I will try to tell you the maximum in the shortest possible time. Now, you need to know some basic principles as far as elastic resistance training is concerned. Now, how does elastic resistance compare to other types of resistance? That is important. Now, when you are doing elastic resistance training, or when you are using something new, you always want to know that is there a difference between the two modalities, what you have been using for years, whether the other modality is better or not. So, how does elastic resistance compare to other types of resistance? Now, when you talk about elastic resistance versus other types of resistance, they give similar EMG profiles with exercises. There is no significant difference in strength outcomes. So you get similar strength outcomes when you are using elastic resistance. So you can say there would be no decrements as far as your strength adaptations are there. You can achieve similar results with elastic resistance also. Some of you may feel that it's not possible, but it is there. There is documentary evidence for that you can get similar results, but there are so many other advantages as far as elastic resistance is concerned, that you would prefer to use elastic resistance instead of the other modalities for strength training. Now, how much force do the bands and tubings produce? Have you ever thought of that you can actually find out that how much force is produced by these bands and tubings? There is specific formula for that, and you can find out, and you have to be objective whenever you are you are treating your patients. You have to be objective in your approach. So to tell or to know how much progression is required, or at what level you are giving your exercises to the patient, you must know that how much force is given by a particular band. So how much force do the bands and tubings produce? Now, it depends upon Three factors. The elastic resistance force, because that is a tensile strength which is giving you resistance. So the elastic resistance force depends on three factors. The force of the elastic band or any elastic material, it depends upon K into CSA into delta L. K is your elastic coefficient, which is consistent within bands, and CSA is the cross-sectional area, which is the amount of material of that particular band. How much material is there in that band during that length, okay, or along that length. Basically, more the material, more would be the resistance. And delta L, that is change in length, elongation. That is the most important part, that how much you are stretching the band. So okay, I have a band here like this. How much you are stretching the band. If you are stretching it more, the resistance would be more. Definitely there is a direct relationship as far as the change in length is concerned. So for whenever you're working with bands, change in length is the most important thing, because elastic coefficient would be constant and the cross sectional area for a particular length of band would be constant. You cannot change the amount of material within a band. What you can change is you can manipulate the length of the band. So that is the most important thing you need to consider when you are working out with bands. And one thing I want to, most of you must have seen bands of various brand names, but there is an interesting fact that I would like to tell, that the Thera-Band Academy or Performance Health, these bands are a product of Thera-Band. Okay, Thera-Band is a brand name. Now, because they were the pioneers in producing these bands, that's why this term Thera-Band has become synonymous with any elastic resistance band. So these principles will apply on any elastic resistance band, but because the Thera-Band was pioneer in producing this product, that's why it has become synonymous. So whenever we have to mention about any elastic bands, we just say Thera-Bands, but that is a brand name actually. Okay, that is not the generic product, that is a brand name. Okay. Now, different Thera-Band colors indicate progressive resistance with increasing thickness of material. Now, when you talk about Thera-Band has a very systematic, system of progressive resistance. There are various color codings for different bands, which will tell you that how you are progressing when you are using a particular band. So the color coding goes like this. You have at the lowest level tan, then yellow, then red, green, blue, black, silver, gold. This is the progression upwards. So tan, yellow, red, green, blue, black, silver, gold. So this is how you progress when you are working with your patients or athletes. Because when I'm saying athletes, because it has huge application in sports training. Not imagine sports rehabilitation without elastic resistance. Okay. Now, elastic resistance force depends on percentage elongation from resting length regardless of original length of the material. I've already mentioned that the change in length is the most important thing. Elastic resistance is based on percentage elongation. Now, the percentage elongation is given by final length minus the resting length divided by resting length into 100. So, if you are stretching a 1 meter band to 2 meters band or a 2 meter band to 4 meters band, then in both the cases the percentage elongation would be 100%, because 1 has become 2 or 2 has become 4. So there is 100% elongation. So in both the cases the force would be same, because the resistance is based on percentage elongation, not the final length. Okay, so the percentage elongation is the most important part which you need to consider. So a 1 meter band stretched to 2 meters or a 2 meter band stretched to 4 meters, both have 100% elongation and both of them will give similar force. So within any color the force will be the same at the same elongation regardless of the resting length. So this is, now it is showing this reference to be from 2001, but it is the most basic reference which we have to quote. Okay, it has to be quoted like this whenever we'll talk about Thera-Band or bands. So this 2001 reference will definitely come, because this is the most basic part which we need to understand as therapists, because we need to manipulate the elongation, the percentage elongation. Okay. Now this is what the Thera-Band force elongation in kilograms looks like. So you can have a printout of this table and in your clinic, and you can find out, with experience you can find out whether the band is around 25% elongated or 50% elongated or 75%. When we conduct a workshop on this, we tell how to find out that what is the percentage elongation of a particular band. So when you know that what approximate percent elongation, you can figure out that this is the percentage elongation for a particular band, then you can refer to this table and you can find out that what sort of force is being given by that particular band. So for example, a black band, if it has been elongated by 100%, it will give 4.4 kgs. Similarly, a gold band, this is the gold band, say this is the gold band, now this is a silver band. Okay, similarly you have black, blue, green, red, yellow. So a silver band, if it is elongated by 175%, it would give 8.6 kgs of resistance, and a gold band at 250% elongation will give 18.2 kgs of resistance. Okay, so you can have objective evaluation. You can find out how much weight you are using for your patients. It's very easy, and it is always advisable to work objectively rather than subjectively. So you should know how much force you are giving to your patients for for a particular exercise or for a particular movement. Now principle 4, elastic resistance provides consistent linear resistance that is quantifiable and predictable. Now this is very important. Now you can predict that how much force would be there when there would be a certain elongation of that band, because it is objective. You are not firing in thin air just like that, or out of the blue you are just using something. There is a basis for using a particular band for a particular exercise, for a particular movement. So there is basis for each and everything. So elastic resistance provides consistent linear resistance that is quantifiable. You can easily quantify it and you can predict it. It will not be unpredictable. You cannot expect the bands to behave in very unpredictable manner, or they will give something some sort of force, specifically for Thera-Band bands, bands which are produced by Thera-Band Academy or Performance Health Hygienic Corporation, USA. They are very predictable. All of them have been developed by proper evidence based. There are so many researches which have been done for testing these products in actual clinical environment, and RCTs have been conducted, and then whatever recommendations have been given, then only these recommendations have been given after proper evidence has been collected, then only such recommendations have been given for all these products which I'll be talking about. Now how when you progress from one color to other color, how does the resistance changes? So there is a leap or an increase of around 22 to 27%. So when you are say if all the bands are 100% elongated, say all the bands are stretched and they are 100% elongated, so each band which was 1 meter has been stretched to 2 meters now. So when you are moving from yellow to red, you will get a force increase of 26%, and when you are moving from red to green, you will get a force increase of 22%, from green to blue 30%, blue to black 27%, and black to silver is 27%. So this is a stepwise progression you can see. So all of them progress in a particular manner. There is no haphazard way of progression. So it is a scientific method which is used in rehabilitation, in physiotherapy practice, or in sports rehabilitation. So there is a stepwise progression, not just like that. If you are using say X force today and tomorrow you're using 2x. If you don't know how much force your band is producing, then perhaps you may do that. Say if you will use one band with X resistance, you don't know how much the force the band is producing, you don't have any idea, there is no color coding. Some of the other brands may be claiming that they have color codes, but the actual color code would be there in Thera-Band bands only. So you have to see that. Okay, so it would be a stepwise progression, and it would be scientifically, it will be based on some science, it will be based on evidence that this is the basis of your PRE, the progressive resisted exercises. So there's a stepwise progression when you do when you are progressing from one color to another color. Okay, Now, this is just the gist, the basic principles. There are so many things which I want to talk about, but I have limited time, so I would restrict myself to the most important things, and I will try to give you an idea. That you can do this also, you can do that also. There are so many other things which if you want to explore, sky's the limit when these modalities are concerned. Okay, so what is the real advantage as far as the elastic resistance is concerned? Now, one of the most important benefits, unlike free weights, is that it does not rely on gravity to provide resistance. You don't have to rely on gravity because the bands, they don't have any weight of this. There is no weight, as negligible weight. Whatever resistance is coming, that is coming from the tensile force. So you can work in any direction. There is no need to rely on gravity, because if you are talking about a free weight or a pulley system, the weight has to be lifted against the gravity only, then only it will be fruitful. Say, like, if I am holding some weight like this and I am moving it, horizontal adduction abduction, if I am doing, so I am not actually, if I am using a dumbbell, I am not exercising my horizontal adductors or abductors. I am exercising my abductors, not the horizontal adductors or abductors. But if I use a band, I can strengthen my horizontal adductors also, and I can strengthen my horizontal abductors also in the standing position only. There is no need to lie down and go in side lying and then do this horizontal adduction. So that is a big advantage. Now, once you will start working with bands, then you will realize that what advantage is there, that the bands are not relying on gravity. Now, because they are not relying on gravity, they can be used for more functional movement patterns that mimic both everyday activities and sport specific activities. Now, you must have heard that your brain recognizes your movement, so it is better to train the movement rather than doing the isolation training. So train the movement. If you train the movement, the muscles which are producing that movement will be automatically trained. Okay, so if you want to train the movement, Thera-bands are the best modality, because you can actually use the Thera-bands to provide resistance to the whole movement pattern. The whole movement, the functional pattern can be trained. There is no need to go for isolated training, and it would be very difficult to use dumbbells or free weights to go for functional movement training. But with bands, you can actually train the functional movement. You can train the actual movement of a sporting movement. In cricket, if you have to train the front foot drive, or in basketball, if you have to lay up का जो आपका movement होता है, if you want to train that, so you can actually incorporate bands in such a manner that you can train the functional movement, you can train the actual movement, and that is the most important thing. Because phase 4, phase 5 rehabilitation, when you talk about it after any injury, that talks about functional rehabilitation. So for functional rehabilitation, specifically orthopedic functional rehabilitation, Thera-bands are very, very important, because you can actually train the movement, you can train the function. That is the most important thing with bands, and there is no need to rely on gravity. As I've already mentioned, free weights can only provide resistance in a vertical plane, the direction of gravity. Horizontal plane exercise with a free weight, there is no resistance to that movement. The example which I gave just now for your horizontal adduction. So if you are using a dumbbell for horizontal adduction, when you're standing, so there is no resistance for horizontal adduction as such. There will be resistance for your abductors, because your abductors are holding that weight against the gravity. A study from Louisiana State University discovered that an elastic band training program strengthened the rotator cuff muscles of collegiate baseball pitchers better than a program that used free weight dumbbells. That is the fact, because you can use the bands easily. You can change the positioning of the joint, and you can train at different angles easily. It is very easy for you to manipulate the direction of force as far as the bands are concerned. You can go for a very holistic training throughout the range of motion. When you are using free weights or pulley circuits, you are generally doing isolated training at, say, at 0 degree or at 90 degrees. But with bands, it is very easy to train at different angles, because as far as the principle of specificity is concerned, if you are training at this level, and you are performing at, at under shoulder level, so there are chances of injury at that specific point, because you have not trained for that specific movement. You have been training like this only or like this only, but you are not training at, say, at 45 degrees of abduction. But if you are, doing a sporting performance at 45 degrees of abduction, and you have not trained at that particular angle, because of specificity, if you have not trained at that specific angle, there will be less irradiation of strength adaptation at that particular angle. So there are chances of injury, because that is not maximally strengthened. That angle, the muscles at that angle are not specifically strengthened. So with bands, you can actually get holistic training throughout the range of motion. You can train at 0, 10, 20, 30, like that, 90 degrees, even 130, 140 degrees also. Your internal rotation, external rotation. You can work at different speeds, slow speed, faster speed, because if you are, say, playing or doing some activity at faster speed, so you need to train at faster speed also. So again, the principle of specificity comes into picture. So that is very important, and it is very easy when you train with bands or elastic resistance. Now, because elastic resistance does not rely on gravity to provide resistance, it is possible to change the emphasis placed on muscles during certain exercises. Change in muscle emphasis is also important to target specific muscles, either for aesthetic reasons or for strengthening. For sport competition, you can target specific muscle. You can specifically target the VMO. You can specifically target the lower trapezius using the bands. The movement of the scapula can be done. The downward and backward movement of scapula. I will show you a picture. When we go further, we'll talk about vector training as far as bands are concerned, how you can specifically target the lower trapezius. That is called vector training. You're targeting specific muscles. You can specifically target VMO. You can specifically target the deep cervical flexors. So, and also in case of injuries, as shifting the force move to certain muscles can help protect certain associated joints. So you can do that. You can target specific muscles to specifically strengthen muscles around specific joints which are vulnerable to injury. Another benefit, it provides continuous tension to the muscles being trained. Now, when you are using a band, so if you are doing a concentric contraction, and when you are leaving the band, there will be an eccentric contraction. So both the contraction and the reverse movement, at both the times, the muscle is loaded. So there is again comprehensive training of the muscle when you are using a band. And with bands, you are able to train the muscle in a more holistic manner, because there is adaptation in the force produced by the band in accordance with the force producing capability of the muscle at different angles. Now, someone who is interested to know about this fact can read further, because there is a matching between the length tension relationship of the muscle and the force producing capability of the band. Now it all depends on the force angle. Actually, the force angle this is the angle which this is the force angle, the angle between the band and the lever. So the force angle, this is the force angle, the angle between the band and the lever. So when the force angle is 90, the band gives maximum resistance. When the force angle is 0 or 180, the band gives least resistance. So at the terminal ranges, the inner and outer range, when the muscle is weaker comparatively, the bands give lesser resistance. In the middle range, when the muscle is strongest, the bands give maximum resistance. So there is a matching between the force producing capability of the muscle and the force produced by, or the tension produced by the band. So that is a real, again, a very big advantage as far as bands are concerned. Okay, so you need to understand the concept of force angle, because the force angle and the actual torque produced by the band force, it is a function of sine theta. Okay, so sine 90 is 1, sine 180 and sine 0 are 0. That's why. So if you want to go into details, you can just refer to that. I wanted to mention it here. Now, when you lift a free weight like a dumbbell in any direction other than straight up and down, the tension on the muscle can actually be removed at certain points in the range of motion. One more thing also, that if you're using a dumbbell, so like this, if you're using a dumbbell and you're doing this movement, so from here to here, there would be assistance if you're using a free weight, but with bands this would also be against resistance because the band would be coming from here. Okay, so it will be in horizontal direction, so you will be strengthening the muscle throughout the range. But if you are doing this exercise with a dumbbell, this range will not be strengthened because there will be assistance by gravity, and this in this particular range the muscle would be weaker. So if you happen to do something in this range, there can be an injury. So the fact that elastic resistance equipment does not rely on gravity also means that the elastic resistance equipment used can be inexpensive, lightweight and easily stored and transported despite its ability to provide strong resistance. Now you can virtually carry it in your pocket or in any of the briefcases. You can just give the home program to your patients who are traveling or they are at home. They can follow that thing at home easily. You have to just teach them what they have to do, and it is very easy to follow it up. They can do all the exercise with the bands, with the tubings at their home. All the exercise can be done easily. On the contrary, free weights must be heavy and cumbersome to provide strong resistance. In addition, free weights tend to be expensive as they are typically priced by the pounds. Another important aspect, I've already discussed it, the biceps curl. I've discussed that. Yes. Now, a critical benefit, it prevents the user from cheating. Also, when you're using free weights, heavier weights, the persons can actually create momentum and do cheating. But because bands, they do not have any weight as such of their own, so the chances of cheating are very less. The physical properties of elastic resistance devices do not allow the user to cheat by using momentum. Now, exercise with elastic resistance and related products. Now, first, there are so many of them, but I just want to show you some very important one. Now, postural impairment. All of you must have heard about upper cross syndrome. People sitting like this, and there is forward shoulder, forward head, weakness of deep cervical flexors, weakness of the retractors, and then there is pectorals. They become tight, and your upper cervical extensors, they also become tight. So if you want to correct that upper body posture, you can use the Brugger's exercise. This is Brugger's upper body exercise. There is a specific way of wrapping the bands around your hand. So I'll just try to show you like this. It's like this. This is how you wrap the band, okay, in your hand, and then you do the Brugger's exercise. You open hands, you go for wrist extension, supination, external rotation, abduction plus extension. Okay, so I'll just like to show a video for that. Yeah, you can see how this Brugger's exercise is done. So wrist extension, then supination, and then go for extension and abduction. So you are strengthening the whole upper kinematic chain and you are correcting the upper body posture. This is called your Brugger's exercise, and there is a characteristic manner how you wrap the band around your hands. Great. Yeah. So yeah, the screen is visible. Yeah. We'll move further. Now, motor function impairment, you can use for vector isometrics. Now, graded eccentric progressive exercises, you can use the bands to train the deep neck flexors to stabilize anterior directed vector of SCM. Whenever there is overactivity of SCM, because it is oriented diagonally, so overactivity leads to forward head, and there is weakness of deep cervical flexors, longus colli and longus capitis. So you can use this specific exercise to train the deep cervical flexors, and this is again a type of vector training. This Thera-Band loop cervical extension stabilization, again you can use Thera-Band loops or the bands for cervical extension stabilization. These are the new type of exercises or old exercises done in in more innovative manner. So there is the exercise that they don't become monotonous for your patients. If you keep on changing the way you're giving exercise to the patient, even if you're exercising the same muscles, the compliance would be definitely better. And if the compliance is good, obviously the results will be good. So I'll just show one more video. Hmm. So this is what is vector training, and this is a new way of doing your cervical isometrics or cervical stabilization. And you can easily progress when you are moving from one band to another band depending upon the color code. Okay. Now, cervical dynamic stabilization, you can actually move your body instead of moving your hands. So when you're moving your body like this also, you will be training your cervical muscles. All your muscles would be trained when you're, these are called dynamic cervical dynamic stabilization, dynamic isometrics. Then there is another Union protocol. You just sit on the chair and you rock from your lumbopelvic junction. You're moving forward, backwards, and you're training your cervical musculature. Vector training for lower trapezius, I've already mentioned that in this position. Now you can see the Thera-Band station in this slide. So we have the station also where you can you can have ample of attachments and you can use in different manners. There is a wall unit and a floor unit also. You can incorporate the ball, the stability trainers. There are other things also which you can incorporate in this, and you can use it for specific exercises, for training specific muscles, for various functional movements also. So this I was mentioning for lower trapezius vector training. You can use this movement and you can go for backward and downward movement so that your scapular position is corrected. All your upper limb injuries, scapular training is very important. Now, Thera-Band shoulder struck plus retraction, you can use in two different directions. One single movement, combining shoulder retraction with the shoulder struck activates the scapular muscles as well as the rotator cuff. Okay. Seated row strengthens the upper back and the posterior shoulder. Now you can see you can incorporate the ball also. So when you're doing all these Thera-Band exercises and you are sitting on an unstable surface or you are standing on an unstable surface like a ball or a stability trainer, then the efficacy of that particular exercise increases manyfold because the overall resistance is very much, it is too much. So it becomes more functional in nature as far as the exercise is concerned, because simultaneously you are training the automatic postural reactions also, because your APRs, the automatic postural reactions which you train by proprioceptive training and perturbations, they are basically responsible for subconsciously preventing injuries. So when you are doing these exercises and you are on unstable surfaces and you are incorporating bands along with them, so when we are doing the workshop, an extensive workshop, we train train how you use these devices in combination, in sync with each other, so that you can achieve strengthening also and stabilization also, so that there is the injuries are prevented at subconscious level. So the chance of injuries become very less when you are using these modalities simultaneously. You have Thera-Band shoulder horizontal abduction unilateral. So now you can see that there is no requirement of gravity here, because it is the band is coming in a horizontal direction. So you can incorporate it on a ball. Thera-Band loop scapular stabilization, you can use it. Wall station cervical retraction, I'm just giving you some glimpses so you get an idea. Otherwise you can move, you can just go on to therabandacademy.com. you would get ample of material, all the exercises would be there. You can see what all products are there, how to use them. You will get everything there. And you want to learn, you can attend any of the workshops which we keep planning from time to time. Now, Thera-Band mini ball chin tucks strengthens the deep neck flexors. Thera-Band mini ball deep neck flexor strengthening again. Now there are other ways of using the gym balls. These are Thera-Band gym balls. These also have color codings. Exercise ball thoracic extension stretch helps improve flexibility of thoracic spine extension. This is one of the exercises which you can do with this. For core stabilization, you can use the ball for core stabilization. There are so many exercises. Because of paucity of time, I cannot mention all of them. Then exercise ball prone shoulder flexion for core stabilization and scapular strengthening. Exercise ball supine extension stretch, it stretches the entire spine in extension. Exercise ball prone rollout for abdominal core strengthening, and prone bridge for core stabilization as well as closed chain shoulder stabilization. Standing ball perturbation, so it's very very effective exercise if you have some balance deficits, or in neurological cases you can incorporate the standing ball perturbations when the patient is standing on the stability trainer. Again, you can see the stability trainers here, they also have these color codings. You have green, blue, black, and then silver disc is there. So you can use these stability trainers for your proprioceptive training, and you can incorporate various modalities. You can see the whole setup here. You have the stability trainers also, you have the balls also, you have the Thera-Band station behind, the gym balls also, you have the rocker board, you have the wobble board. All these things are there which you can incorporate as far as these modalities are concerned. And the elastic resistance, we have talked about so many things. Now I think, yeah, I will show you some of the videos. So in this, the model is using a CLX band, basically continuous loop band, which I have one here. So this is tricep extension. So that is the beauty of elastic resistance, that you can carry it anywhere, and you can exercise all your muscles, all the body muscles can be exercised with this. These are some of the examples for that. Just wait. Yeah, I'll play one more video. Yes. Again, we are using the CLX band here. So you have different loops, and you can manipulate the number of loops you want. Not just the CLX. You can use the normal bands also for this. You can use the tubings also for this. It's a very effective exercise when you incorporate bands in your squatting. I think because I have paucity of time, I have tried my best to give you a good enough idea of various modalities and various principles which we use when we are using elastic resistance in clinical setup. And I just wanted to mention that this presentation contains material from Thera-Band Academy USA, and videos are also from Thera-Band Academy. I am a certified trainer with Thera-Band Academy, and I am an authorized person to use this material. I declare there is no conflict of interest as far as these things are concerned, and the copying of material without consent and permission would be a violation of Copyright Act. Thank you. Thanks for your time, and thanks again to all the members of the Rehabilitation Science Group for providing this opportunity to me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak, for being with us today. It was a wonderful presentation, and you have shown that a TheraBand is not only similar to other methods of resistance and strength training, but indeed there are certain advantages and benefits of using elastic resistance in training over other methods like dumbbells and weights or use of gravity. Dr. Deepak, how important it is to be trained before using a TheraBand?
A baseline strength is required. It's like as a therapist, you always see that what sort of activity you can give to your patients. Now you have to assess the baseline strength of the individual. Now when I talk about TheraBands specifically, I will be talking about TheraBands. I will not talk about any other brand bands. When you talk about TheraBands, you have bands at tan level also. Tan is like negligible resistance. So if somebody who has not done any exercise, or say a cardio patient, we have been using, or there are researches in which the tan or the yellow bands, they have been used in ICUs also for patients. So you can imagine that what sort of the baseline strength of an individual who is in ICU would be. So patients who are in ICU, they have also been given exercises with tan bands, yellow bands. So it depends. Obviously, whatever resistance you have to give, that depends on the baseline strength of the individual. And a previous exposure to exercise is not absolutely necessary, but whatever contraindications are there for your strength training, all those contraindications would apply here also. There are no specific contraindication as far as resistance training with bands are concerned. So all those contraindications which are there with normal strength training, that would apply here also.
Right. Dr. Deepak, and how to ensure efficiency of the band for a longer period of time? And when do you know that the band is not efficient? So how do I detect in my band that it is no more useful
You,
to its capacity?
yes, the company recommends that there is no decrement as far as the force produced by the band is concerned for around 5,000 pulls. Okay, so for up to 5,000 pulls, even for up to 6,000, it has been documented for 5,000 pulls there is no decrease in the force produced by the band. And if there is, with your experience, you will come to know that if the band is getting stretched too much at a specific force, then perhaps, and if you are using it for, say, for a very long period of time and it has surpassed that 5,000 pulse limit, then perhaps you can change it. Or if you can see that there are visible signs of wear and tear or some small holes are there, and any other thing which you feel that that can lead to failure of the band when the person is training, you can discard the band. And when you're storing your bands, then make sure that you powder them and you clean them in between, so that their lifespan is increased. Because sometimes if if there is deposition of dust and if it interacts with moisture, then the bands can become sticky, and if the layers stick to each other, then the chance of failure increases. So you can just use cornstarch or normal talcum powder, so that the moisture is not there and the dust does not stick there, then the life can improve.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Deepak, for being with us today and sharing this wonderful knowledge on elastic bands. And I hope it will be clinically useful to
Thanks
most of
to
the
all of you.
professionals.
Thanks to all of you. Thanks to all of you.
Thanks, Dr. Deepak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.